What's up guys, this is Adam from 3dmodesworld.com. Welcome to another Maya tutorial, and today we're gonna create this really cool hologram effect, and we're gonna use just Maya and Arnold to do that. We're gonna create really nice shaders to simulate this effect in Maya, and toward the end of this tutorial I'm gonna show you guys a quick demo of a rig that we created here at 3dmodesworld.com that you can purchase it inexpensively, and it's gonna help you have this hologram ready for you, and you can have full control over it and over the coloring. It's gonna be really easy and fun to work with. So without further delay, let's get started. Okay, so this is the scene I have, and it's basically the base of this hologram, and then this screen that's gonna be projecting the hologram from. Okay, so first let's create the cone of the hologram. So let's go create polygon and then cube. Okay, and then let's scale this cube, then move it. Let's move it up. Let's make sure we're looking also from the camera view. This is the camera view. Okay, let's go to the top here. Let's make sure we snap to the middle. Let's switch perspective, and then let's start working with the shape here. So let's select the bottom parts and then let's scale it down. So something like that should work. And then let's take these guys and then move them up, and then let's scale them up as well. Okay, so that's good. And then let's select this face and then let's delete it. And then let's isolate this geo, and then let's also delete the bottom face, we don't need that. Okay, so this is all good. Let's go to the UV editor. Just want to make sure we have these faces have a proper UVs. Let's go to the UVs and click on the cylinder mapping. Okay, so that's good. We don't need to change anything here. This is good. So let's close that. So now we have the base of this geo. Good to go. So now let's go edit mesh, and then let's smooth it, and then let's change the divergence to 2. Hit enter. Okay, so that's pretty good now. We can scale it from here. Let's actually move the pivot down. So let's hold D and then let's push it down, like matching to this edge here. So this way when we scale, it scales like this way. Okay, so that's cool. Okay, so looking good from all angles. So now the next thing, let's delete this history here. We don't really need it. Delete by type history, because it's gonna slow down our scene. So we want this to be transparent. We want it to be like at the bottom pretty strong, and then the top transparent. So in Arnold, usually you want to make sure always you click in opaque anytime you want to have a geo have transparency apply to it. Otherwise it's not gonna be able to take the transparency. Okay, so that's done. And then let's right click here and assign new material. Then let's click on Arnold and then AI standard surface. So this is the material we're gonna use for the hologram. So let's know it. Okay, now let's pick the color. We can pick this color, nice blue, and let's press 6 so we can see it. And then let's turn off the specular here. We don't want it to be reflective. Let's turn that weight up to 1, so this way we can have a nicer color here. And then later we're gonna work on the emission. This is basically the glow. So we can keep it 0 for now, we don't need it. And then under the geometry, we're gonna play with the opacity to make it transparent. Okay, so let's click on this checker box and let's apply a ramp. So this ramp basically gonna apply where it's gonna be transparent and where it's gonna be not transparent. So let's render quickly and then see what we got just by applying this basic settings here. Okay, so we got the transparency in the bottom here, and then in the top is not very transparent. So we want it to be the opposite. So let's change these colors. Let's put this one, the white here and the black in here, so you can see here. And then let's render. Okay, cool. So the bottom now is strong and the top now is fading. So that's good. So let's now tone down this. We want the fading to be a little bit stronger, not like just at the very top. So let's add these extra colors in here, and then let's have this one become more like darker gray, like almost black. And that's pretty good. Just increase it a little bit more. Okay, and then let's save this guy and then let's render. Okay, so that's much better. Now we can see the hologram start to feel more like a hologram. Okay, cool. So now we got that good. Next thing, let's start creating these rays from the hologram itself. Okay, so let's go create polygon, and then let's create a plane. Of course, you can try to create a volumetric shader, volumetric light, and could work. I will give you some nice result, but the problem with it is you're gonna have a pretty hard time animating because you're not gonna be able to see representation of the hologram. But this way you're gonna see exactly what the size of it, and then you can animate it the way you really want without having any issue. So that's why we're doing it this way, one of the reasons. So now let's scale this one, and then let's go, while we are here, let's make sure we click on opaque because we want this to be transparent. And then let's go to the settings and let's put it all the way down, something like that. And then let's see, let's scale this, make it really small here, and let's move the pivot, let's push it like to the edge here. So yeah, that looks better now and easier to move around as well. So let's go with 90 degrees for now. And let's see, so let's check the UVs first on this guy, make sure UVs are good. Let's apply a planar mapping and Z. Let's see, Z is the other way, so not Z, it's X. So let's UV mapping, planar mapping, and then let's go through X, so something like that. Okay, more like representing the shape. We could change that later if we found like some weird behavior in the shader. But for now, let's keep it, and let's delete the history in it as well. Do it by type, history, and then let's scale it down from that X axis, and then let's see, here's gonna get a little bit, just we want to make sure we're kind of matching these lines, just for like organizing purposes. There's no specific reason why. But if we match these lines, then we can know that we're gonna have more consistent look, you know, so we have things are more organized better. So let's put it this way. Let's see, and before we duplicate it, let's create the shader for it. So this way we make sure we make the shader work with what we have, the poly, if we need to change the UV, so we don't have to change the UVs like on everything, we just fix this one. So let's go to the hypershade and let's pick this hologram shader we just created, and let's go edit, duplicate shading network. So this way we can reuse this guy, so we don't need to create everything from scratch. Okay, so let's assign it. Okay, let's see, so we got it here, and before we do anything, let's just render. Let's go to the geometry, so we're selecting this guy here, and then let's render and see what the result looks like. So that's good, so strong at the bottom and then weak at the top, so it's matching the same rhythm of our hologram. So that's good, so we don't need to change anything in here. Now we need to start playing around with that look of this ray here. So let's move things around here, and then let's start changing the type here, because the type gonna influence a lot how these things look. So let's go to UV ramp. Okay, and then once we went to UV ramp, let's go to the textures here, to the basically the UVs, and let's change this repeat U and V. But first let's play with the U, and you can see here we get these like lines, sharp lines, because if we change to this from 1 and then change this to 10, this is gonna affect the V, and then it's gonna be the lines more like horizontal. So that's why we don't want to change both, because we just want to make sure the lines here is more like straight this way. So let's go back and then let's change this to 1, and then let's change this to 10 for example, and then let's go this ramp so this looks cool, and then let's make sure here, let's delete this one and let's save this one, and let's make sure here looks kind of correct. Okay, so that's pretty good. Like these now rays looks pretty nice. They are fading at the bottom, but we don't need to worry too much about that because we got this guy is the main one, that he's like have the main source, and these rays just on the side gonna be, and we're gonna have a lot of them. So this is, I'm pretty happy with this for now. You can always play with these settings here and then get all kind of different looks, but for now let's keep it this way, and then let's close, and then let's close this one as well. And nice thing, you can always get representation here, and then let's start duplicating these guys around. So I'm gonna duplicate it and rotate it around. This is gonna be a little bit manual work here, but it's gonna be worth it because you're gonna have this nice rays now. It doesn't have to be super perfect. I'm gonna just do the main ones here, matching this guideline from that cube that we just created. Let's see. So we just keep moving it, something like that. Let's duplicate it. Okay, let's delete actually this guy here, and then let's duplicate this one and just basically move it to the side, much easier this way, and let's rotate it. So we're creating these guys here, so that's cool. Now let's select this guy. Let's see, we might need to actually move it more like this way. I'm just trying to basically center these guys as much as I can, but you don't need to worry too much about it because, you know, the more random these rays looks, the more natural and cool it's gonna be. So it doesn't have to be like super everything divided equally. But for now, I'm just gonna try to get it, you know, divided equally a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so maybe enough. And just make sure the distance is kind of similar to these guys. Maybe let's push this one out a little bit, and this one as well. Okay, cool. So let's select it, and then let's duplicate it and move it back, and let's rotate it the other way. Okay, so what we got? Okay, so we got something like that. Now let's do another, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do another 4 in here that they're gonna be facing the camera, because this guy is not facing the camera. So we can select it and duplicate and then move it here, you know, and then rotate it this way or this way basically. It doesn't really matter. So let's see. And let's duplicate this guy here, and let's see, we got it this way. Maybe like just tilt it a little bit. Maybe this one we can just rotate it a little bit so it's not fully flat. Same thing we do with these guys here. Let's see, so we got 2 here, and then let's duplicate this guy here and move it this way, and then let's rotate it maybe something like that. Let's see, okay, and then let's go the same here, last one, duplicate it, move it, and then rotate it around. Okay, let's move it this way. Something like that. So there is gaps in here, we can fill more, but for now, you know, we can keep it because we're gonna be duplicating these guys a lot. So let's go to the camera just to make sure. Okay. So now we have all these planes. So let's select them all. Let's make sure everything is included in here. Again, let's just group these guys and let's call it ray. We're gonna repeat these a lot, and this is the main hologram. So let's see, now the pivot is off. You want to make sure we center it, so let's go center pivot, and then let's hold down D, and then let's push the pivot down somewhere around there. Okay, but before we do anything here, let's just render and see what we got with this guys here. Okay, so we kind of get these nice rays, and then now let's start duplicating so we can enhance the effect even more. So let's Control D or Command D here, and then let's rotate, and then let's push this down a little bit. You know, now it's gonna be, let's just make sure we rotated something like that. If they crash with each other, it's totally fine. As I mentioned, like the more this stuff is random, the better it's gonna look. So this is cool for now. We can maybe just push it in the x-axis using the scale, and then let's duplicate it another more time. I can rotate it around, you know, and then let's push it down this way. You know, we're just trying to get it as much variety as we can. And let's go back to the first one, and then let's duplicate it, and let's turn it, let's give it another spin in here. And then, you know, you could even just have it a little bit longer like that. You know, you can always play with these settings. And then let's do one last one. Let's select these guys here and duplicate them. Just push them even lower like that, and then just turn it around. So we get this kind of like look, and then let's render. So you get like this kind of like rays type feeling in here. Now if you want to make it more feel like circular, we can always adjust this by, you know, adjusting these guys' length. So for example, let's see, this guy's here, we can make them a bit smaller, and this guy's here, we can make them bigger like that, and then lower them like this way. We're basically trying to create this shape, and then we can even make them a bit smaller like that, or increase them in size. You can always adjust the shape the way you want, you know. So let's render and see. So this is you getting more like a more circular shape, but I actually liked it before. So let's undo these, you know, and let's keep it like that. And as I mentioned, you can always customize it the way you want, and also the angle influence also how it looks like. So let's basically render it from here and see how it looks. Okay, so that looks cool. So you can see like from different angles you have a pretty nice like feeling of like a holographic kind of effect. So let's move this forward, and then now the next step, we got all these kind of guys going. What we can do now is just go to basically the shader, and then the last thing we need to do here is basically enhance this. Actually, let's go to the hyper shade so we can see things better in here. Yeah, we can have the shader here, and then let's go to the emission, and then here we can adjust the weight of this emission. So as soon as we turn it on, things gonna start really glowing. You can see here, but we don't want the glow to be white. We want it ideally to be matching the same color. So we click just on the color here, it's gonna take it. And let's go here to the color and then click on it. So this way, here it just glows everything, but here you can see it just glows that parts that is fully not transparent. So if I increase it here, you're gonna see this one started glowing really a lot. But we don't want it to be like a lightsaber type of glowing, like too much. We wanna like tone it down, maybe something like that, 0.3. And then you can see here's influence already the look. So let's pick some angle, and then let's just do a quick render. So you can see now all these areas here, the bright areas start to glow. which is pretty cool. And then the next thing we can do, we can apply the same amount of glow into the main shader that we created first. So we can go to the weight, change the color, and then I think here we just want to make sure we don't give it too much so everything gets too bright here, because we like it's really nice here that it's fading, and we want to have this feeling of fading. And then here we can enhance it a little bit, so maybe like 0.1. And then let's see, so let's delete this old one here, and then let's select this guy, save, and then let's render the preview. Okay, so you can see I like it. It gets brighter here, so it's nice. It feels like a more like light feeling to it. So let's keep that here. We don't need to increase it more, we don't want to have it too much. So we got these guys going now. So we got this nice shader here working, and this hologram also working. For this same thing for the base light is basically this geo here. So let's select that, and then let's do the same thing. This one we can actually make it very bright, so we can go all the way to 1, because we want it to feel, because that's basically the source, and now it's pretty dark comparing to the actual light. So let's see, so let's save this guy, and then let's render. Okay, so you can see now, once we have this one become really bright, it's blended nicely with the cone itself. So before it was like separated and feels like weird. Now it feels this light is like completely emitted from this section. So that's something to keep in mind. You want to just make sure everything always flows nicely together. So this is nice. Now let's add the geo. So we want to have this hologram basically showing some kind of geo. So I have the F18 here with me. So let's click on it, let's view it. So this is F18, we have a model. So let's scale it down, and then let's put it in here somewhere. It's okay if some part of it's going outside, it's not a big deal. And that looks good. So let's create a shader for it, because this one need to have its own shader. And we want it to feel like a wireframe, but it's kind of also transparent. It kind of looks same like type. So let's select this main hologram again, and first let's clear the graph, select main hologram, let's go edit, duplicate, shading network. So this way we have this guy here duplicated another time, and this one we can call it like hologram, for example, object. And then let's select this plane, and then let's just assign it to it. Cool, so now we got this one here. Let's select it, just select this hologram, and let's change it now, because we want it to feel like a wireframe. So let's change it to UV map, so we get this kind of like a square thing. And then let's change this to, let's say 10, and let's change this one to 10, so we can get the grid type effect here. See, this kind of grid type effect, so that's cool. I'm gonna turn off the emission now. Let's turn it back to 0. So this is what we have so far. So let's render. Okay, so rendered now, and you can see it feels like a little bit X-ray-ish type thing, but we don't see much of the detail of the plane. Like a lot of it's getting transparent. So that's mean we need to increase this UV map. It's like too big now, so the transparent part is getting too much. And while we are here, just let's make sure the plane and Arnold is clicked on opaque, so that's good. So it's deselected, so that's mean everything is working correctly. So let's go to the UV map here, and then let's increase it to, I don't know, like 40, and here also like 40. So we want to make sure like it's really small effect on it, like these. See, and then let's delete all these other things, and let's save, and then let's just select this section, and let's render. Okay, so you can see here it's done rendering. There's this pixel here, last square is stuck, but you can see it start to look really nice. Like you can see here the detail of the plane, but still feel like a holographic. And we can also increase this, like let's make it 70, and this one also 70. So, and let's render the whole thing, so hopefully you render it. Okay, so it's done rendering, and you can see it's pretty big difference between where we started and then now it looks like really much nicer, and you can see all the detail of the plane, but feel like it's a part of the hologram, and it doesn't feel like weird or anything. So that's pretty cool for now. And then let's go back to this object, and then let's turn on the emission here, and then it's the same thing for the plane. Actually, like by default here looks pretty good, we don't need to make it brighter, but let's increase the emission like 0.1 as well. And then let's render this section. Let's render the whole thing so it can render. So I'm gonna save this, and let's delete all previous ones. Save it, and then let's render. Okay, done rendering, and you can see before and after it's gonna get brighter a little bit, but it's kind of nice, like it's flowing nicely with this the rest of the hologram. And that's basically how we can create this hologram in Maya and Arnold. With you can see it's not like crazy complicated shaders, but you need to keep track of like what kind of shaders you're applying and what kind of like ramp you're choosing in order to get things to look correctly. I'm gonna be showing you guys like now a rig that we created based on this tutorial that you guys can purchase inexpensively. It's gonna be a really helpful rig. I'm gonna be doing quick demo just to show you how we basically automate all this process for you, so you can use it easily, and then you can easily to have animation on it and change the color. Okay, so thanks for watching this tutorial. I'm gonna show you the hologram rig right now, and then I can show you how you can use it for your own projects. Okay, so this is the rig I have now, and you can see here it's just like I have one control, and then in that attribute editor here you can have all the settings to change the animation, and then some of the settings like glow and some extra attributes here. We're gonna go through them quickly. I'm gonna show you guys. Okay, so first thing, let's go to the outliner here, and I want to show you the groups we have. So we have the main control, and this control basically will control the scale, and then we'll control also the rotation, and you know, that's basically it. And of course that's translation if you move it in specific location. And then if you expand this hologram geo group, you're gonna have here a group called add object here. So this one, what you're gonna do whenever you want to have like some kind of objects like this guy, for example, you can grab it and just add it to this object here. And then when you do that, it's gonna be connected to the hologram. So this way, when you go to the settings of the hologram, and if you're gonna have any rotation, it's gonna be applied, or if there is any kind of scale, it's gonna be also applied to the object itself. So you don't have to animate the object separately. You will inherit immediately the hologram settings. So this is just one thing to keep in mind. You can add as many objects as you want to here. That's it for this section, the outliner. Now I'm just gonna show you guys. So the default settings here is just gonna show you exactly what we had in the tutorial. So let me render and show you. So this is the default of the glow. Like whenever you open this scene and then you start rendering, you're gonna get like this result immediately. There's nothing you need to do in this settings here to change this look. It's already everything set up to look like this way. Now there's a few things we can here play with. For example, this cone glow, this affects how much glow you have here. So that's pretty cool. You can all adjust that. And then the U and V is related to UV map. For example, the way it's set up, the U is not gonna do much effect, but the V will do effect and start doing some interesting looks here. Same applies for the rays. So now the glow is set to 0.32. You can enhance it, turn them off or on the glow as much as you need. And then now it's set to 10, and you can here see how you can adjust these rays by tweaking the settings, you know. And same will apply for the V. You can totally play with this stuff. And don't forget guys, you can always animate these settings to get some nice variation here, or like this one for example, you can always animate these. Okay, and then now this is for the object glow. So you can see immediately the objects will be affected by this. Just want to make sure when you have a new object, for example, let me create a polygon cube here, and let's scale it. Let's say this is the object we want to have. So what you do, you're gonna go to the hyper shade, and then you need to look for the hologram saying object. So hologram object, so you select your cube and then apply the material to it. So this way, when we go back to the settings, and it's gonna be applied to this new object. Just to keep in mind, make sure you apply the right shader. Okay, so let's delete this guy. So this is for the glow of the object, and this also will affect the U and V of the object. So again, you can customize the look here, and then you can also animate it. You don't have to move the U and V separate together. You can move them separately like that to have some kind of like animation. And then the screen glow here is basically controlling the glow of the screen. You can turn it off and on. And here you get the cone scale XYZ. So this is have the rays, basically rays A, B, C, D, and E. Each one of them have its own scale X, Y, and Z. So you can adjust that individually or one by one. This is just for extra control if you want to customize specific things. And same applies for the rest of the rays. And then this section here is basically the rotations. So you can rotate, and as you can see, the plane is already rotated with the hologram. So this is gonna give you rotation. Now the cool thing, you can rotate each individual section separately. So this way you can have a really nice animation, which we're gonna do right now, guys. We're gonna just animate this. I'll show you what you can do with it, which is gonna be matching the tutorial animation. Okay, so now this is basically the settings we have. Now let's say you want to change that color of the glow. You don't want it to be this color. So you go to the hyper shade, and we make this super easy for you guys. So you don't have to go and manually change the color and then the glow on each separate thing. You click on this hologram color picker, and then in the out color here, you just select any color you want. So you can just select, let's say, this color, kind of like orange glow. And then you can see here it did update on all the shaders that need to be updated. All of them get updated. Now sometimes Maya is not gonna update every object, but you don't need to worry about it. When you render, it's gonna look correct. So let's render. Okay guys, so it's done rendering, and you can see now everything is become this orange color. And this is a really easy way to just basically, you always go to the hyper shade, and then in this shader you don't have to go and manually change in all these, just this guy, and then change it to whatever shader you want, whatever color you want, and then it should pick it up. So let's change it to this, for example, color. And then while this is not really updated, it's okay. So let's save this guy, and then let's render. Okay, now it's done rendering, and you can see we changed the color again to something completely different. So this is super easy way to change the colors. So there is one thing I just want to show you guys. Now if this doesn't update for some reason, like what's doing in mine, you just need to open the hyper shade, and if you click on these shaders, will at some point update them. But you don't need to worry too much about that. It's because it's gonna render correctly. If you want to change the look of the hologram, for example, like to look completely different, the only thing you need to do is basically you need to go to the, let's say, the cone. You need to change the look of it, and this is the cone shader. And then you need to go to the opacity, and then you need to go to the ramp here, and then here in the type it's set to V, and you can change that to anything you want. Like you're gonna see it reflecting here, or diagonal, and you can change that to anything you want, and then you can experiment with what kind of look it's gonna give you. For example, if we go UV map, it's gonna, like, each one of them is gonna give us a completely different, and this is, you can customize it up to you. And I just wanted to show you guys that this is also another way you can change the type here and make the look completely different in your hologram. But if you don't want to change it, and you just want to adjust the colors and then some of the settings like what I show you in this control, then you don't have to touch the shaders at all. Everything will be set automatically for you, and the only thing you need, as I mentioned, is just changing the color of this shader here, the out color, and it's just gonna reflect on everything else. because when you change the shader color here, it's gonna be influencing the color of the object, or anything else. Like screen is gonna be influencing the color of the emission as well, and it's gonna be like doing a bunch of things to help set the look correctly. This is what we have. So let's say we need to animate this hologram to make it look cool. So we go to the settings here after we select the main control, and then let's go to frame 1 here, and then let's say we're happy with everything here. So press S, so it's gonna set up a frame, keyframe and everything here. So let's go to frame, let's say 30. Let's press S again. Okay, and then in frame 1, let's turn it off. So we can select all these guys that's saying scale. Let's make sure we select them all. And then let's put them to 0. Select like this way, 0. So this way the hologram is like turned on. So off and then turned on. So let's say I want to offset this animation. So I want these guys, the cone to be the leading, and then everyone else has got delay. So what we can do, let's go to the graph editor, and then this is the cone. So let's select everything other than the cone, and then let's select all these keys and then move them. You can see they get affected here, and then let's adjust timing so it's like slow them down also. So now let's see what's happened. So you can see the cone started first and then the rest follows. So now you can actually delay these layers of the rays as well. So let's go back to the graph editor and let's select the rays A, for example, and then maybe let it go faster, and then B go faster a little bit. Just push. I'm pushing it back, playing basically with the timing, you know. And then let's delay this one at 2 frames, and then let's select these guys and delay them 1 frame. So let's see what we got. So you can see now everything is a different timing. And then you can, let's say we want the cone not to be everything like scale evenly, so we can adjust that as well. We can go, for example, scale, let's see, scale X, scale Z. Let's say when I play with scale Z, so we select scale Z, and here let's press I and middle mouse so we can insert a keyframe, and then let's move this around. So we can make it like this, for example. So start like that and then open up. So like this way. So this is one way to animate it. Okay, and then next thing we can do, let's start adjusting the rotation for this hologram. So let's select this control again, and then we have here all the rotations. So we can do the same thing basically. Let's go to frame 1 and then key selection and everything here, and let's go to frame, let's say 80, and then let's say like 90 degrees. Okay, and then while it's going up it's gonna be rotating, but now it just stops. So let's go to the graph editor, and then let's make this a cycle. So let's go back here and select all the rotations, and then let's make them linear so it's constant speed, doesn't have slow in and slow outs. Okay, and then what you do is basically you go to curves, post infinity, cycle with offset. So you can see here, if you don't see this curve here, you just go to infinity and then highlight it. So now we got everything gonna keep going. But let's say we want this to be more interesting, because now everything is moving at the same time, and usually you don't want that. So first let's slow down everything, because it's kinda too fast. So let's push this down, so basically less degrees is rotating. Let's push it more down. Okay, so this is good. And then what we need to do is basically, so we want the top parts to be moving faster than the lower parts. So lower parts is basically these two guys, or three. So we can select these, for example, rotation E, and then slow it down more. Or what we can do is basically push it forward like that, and then push this one another few frames, and then push this one another few frames. So let's see what we got. We can slow it even way more down. So let's take this one and really push it. And this guy, so let's select both of them so we can see the ratio. And then let's select these three. Let's say this way. You know, this is all visually just what's feel right. There's no really much science to this animation. So you can see now the rotations are different between each objects, and also the same here. Let's take these two guys because they are identical in timing. We don't want to have anything identical, so we can even push this one further and take those two further here, spread like that. So this way we can have really different timing going on. So you can see this looks much better now. The timing is different. So this is how we basically can animate this hologram turning on, and then it will be like cycling now forever. So if we go like to 800, it's just gonna keep cycling. So yeah, so this is basically how you can animate this. It's pretty straightforward. This settings here allow you to animate it really easily, and the same thing goes for these glows, for example. So for example, you can have the screen here turned off. So let's put it to 0, turn off, and then you could have 1, 2, 3. For example, in 3 frames, you turn it all the way up. So this way screen turn on, and then the hologram pops. You could animate the glow for the rays and the cone itself if you want, but I'm gonna keep it for now because it's gonna happening fast, so it's not gonna be very noticeable. But you can always apply animation to these guys, and you can always animate them like have like a wave values applied to them, so up and down, so the glow will be like a flickering. When you animate this like that, the glow will be flickering, but you want it to be like a high pace, something like that, but not as extreme. That would be cool to do. So hopefully this tutorial will help you guys. Let me know if you have any questions, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to get notified when I publish a new video. Feel free to check our website 3dmodsworld.com for more tutorials and cool 3D assets. Until next time, take care.